Do you like getting ripped off? If you buy a car and you drive it off the lot and it loses a ton of its value, that's a bad deal. In today's video, we're going to talk about the top 25 cars that hold their value the best and also some of the cars that hold their value the worst. Guys, we're heading into an all new year here soon. 2024 is at the doorstep. 2023, I feel like we just got into it and December is a knocking. Today we're docked in on the rooftop like Santa's sled at IC Cars. Top 25 cars that hold their value the best and 25 that are the worst. Now, they also break it down by segments here. So IC Cars, definitely check them out. I feature them quite often on the channel because their information is just so interesting, at least to me. We could do the summary, but this is not a summary video. We're going to get into the nitty gritty, the details. So EVs, okay, let's get into it. Like a hot topic right now. EVs, they're not selling well. Tesla's had to lower their prices. The rest of the automakers were making EVs. Their EVs are sitting around on lots. Essentially, everyone's losing money on EVs. Toyota just beat Tesla when it comes to profitability for the first time in a long time. EVs right now are cooling off here in North America. Depends on when you're out of the world. They're still pretty popular in Europe, even though they're cooling off there. Of course, in China, they are guns blazing. All right, EVs have the worst depreciation across major vehicle types. Why is that? Well, the technology is always changing on them. And that's why a lot of people are waiting on EVs because they're just not convenient or they're waiting for the next best technology out there. It's almost like iPhones at this point, right? iPhone's value, any phone's value for that matter, is going to drop because there's a new model coming out every single year. So that's kind of what's happening with EVs right now. Technology is progressing fast on them and no one wants to buy an EV and be stuck with it. All right, so here we go. By segment. So this is percent improvement since 2019 because in 2019 that's pre-pandemic and depreciation was pretty normal and predictable. Since then, depreciation has not been as devastating because the car market with the microchip shortage, the other shortages, where there were not enough new cars being made, so therefore used cars kept their value better. So overall in 2023, cars have dropped their value 38.8%. And this is for a 5-year depreciation rate. So we're looking at cars from 2018 that were new in 2018 or so, and here in 2023, at the end of 2023, where they're falling. Now, if we looked at back at 2019, cars were losing half of their value roughly in 5 years. So we've seen a nearly 11% improvement in cars holding their value this year compared to 2019. Moving on to hybrids, check this out. Guys, hybrids lose their value the least amongst EVs and SUVs. Trucks hold their value the best. Okay, we'll get into which models here in a little bit, but trucks hold their value the best. If you buy a truck and you don't lease it, if you lease it, none of this stuff matters. I know I'm saying a lot to get our video up and running today, but if you lease a vehicle, none of this matters because you don't have to keep the vehicle. Now, if it holds its value well, here's another thing. If you lease a vehicle and it has a high retention value or a high residual value, then you can get money in on your trade when it's ready to turn the vehicle back in. You might actually have some equity. So there are some deep dive things when it comes to leasing. I'm not going to focus on that. This is if you finance or pay cash for your car or truck. And since 2019, hybrids have seen the greatest improvement in holding their value. EVs, okay, we know EVs depreciate the most, all right? Now, they're depreciating a little bit less compared to 2019, but in 2023, they are dropping about 50%, which was the average drop in 2019 across the entire industry. So EVs are still not doing well in terms of holding the value in 2023. Now, there has been a huge improvement of them holding their value from 67% depreciation compared to 49%, but it's still not good compared to hybrids and the overall market. SUVs are doing a little bit better than EVs in holding their value. Now, EVs, like SUVs, that's a very vague term, so I can't say that's body on frame SUVs. We know a 4Runner is going to hold its value better than Blazer or something like that, right? And trucks have seen a small improvement in holding their value, but their value is already strong. It doesn't drop off very much over the years. In 2019, it would drop 42%. Now in 2023, it drops 34.8% from 5 years earlier. All right, let's get into the top 25 vehicles with the lowest 5-year depreciation. No surprise, in my opinion, the Porsche 911 holds its value the best. Only a 9% drop in value over 5 years. It's $18,000 drop in value, but they cost 6 figures to begin with, essentially. So Porsche 718 right behind it, but look at the huge difference, 9% to nearly 18% depreciation, $13,000 drop on a Cayman. Now the Cayman is very similar to the Boxster, but the Boxster actually depreciates faster. And why would that be? Well, maybe people are worried about the top because the top needs replacing. If it's a soft top, it needs replacing every so often, and maybe there's issues with that. But hey, I would take a Boxster where I live. I would take a Boxster anyways because it's sunny and hot down here all the time. I like to have that ability to drop the top like a Miata. For the normal people, and I just drove the new Tacoma. I can't talk about it at the time of this recording, but the old V6 Tacoma and the old 4-cylinder Tacoma hold their value better than any other mass market vehicle. That is something to invest in if you're worried about depreciation. So it only loses about $8,000, and right up there with it is Jeep Wrangler. We know Wranglers have a great resale value typically, so they drop about 20% of their value in 5 years. That's impressive. That's hardly anything in my opinion. All right, Civic also holds its value almost as well as a Tacoma. Wow, even BRZ does as well. So that's interesting. The BRZ is a niche vehicle. It's a coupe. Therefore, the Toyota, I would say, even though it might not be on this list, the Toyota 86 should be right there with the Subaru BRZ. All right, and holding its value. Camaro's up there. Again, coupes seeming to hold their value pretty well here. Toyota CHR. Now, this is surprising. This vehicle has been canceled in America, but is dead reliable. And since it's such a unique design and such a low entry price, maybe that's why it's held its value pretty well, only dropping about 25% or so over the course of 5 years. Crosstrek right up there with this CHR. The Toyota Corolla is right up there. Not quite as good as the Civic, but if you maybe get the Corolla Hybrid, which wasn't available 5 years ago, but if you get the Corolla Hybrid now, it might hold its value very, very, very well, because we know hybrids are doing the best out of non-pickup truck segments and holding their value after 5 years. Ford Mustang, also in the top 11 here. Now it loses $10,000 in value, which is 25% of its value, but still doing well. Again, Boxster, we already talked about that. Toyota Tundra, again, another pickup truck. When was the last pickup truck? Well, technically it was a Tacoma. So the Tundra and the Tacoma hold their value better than any other pickup truck in North America. All right, Kia Rio, rest in peace. But the Kia Rio has such a low entry price that they can't drop it too much. Otherwise, no one would buy a new Kia Rio. So I get it. And the 5 doors, everyone loves hatchbacks, right? If you like hatchbacks, comment down below. Porsche 911 convertible. Okay, we saw with the Cayman and the Boxster that the convertibles don't hold their value quite as well. HRV, kind of like a CHR from Toyota, dropping its value, but there's a new generation HRV around. Unfortunately, does not have a hybrid that would really help out its resale value down the road. Subaru Impreza wagon. They still have the Impreza wagon. They still make it its only wagon now. That's right. They killed off the sedan version of it, holding its value well here in the top 25. Again, Kia Rio, the 4-door instead of the 5-door. Chevy Spark. Again, cheap cars can't drop too much in value. Like I mentioned with the Kia Rios a second ago. RAV4. Okay, this is our first mid-size crossover. The HRV and CHR and Crosstrek are smaller crossovers. And the Corolla and the Civic, of course, are sedans. So is the Kia Rio 5-door and 4-door. But the RAV4 is the first vehicle on this list for the masses. So I think why we're not seeing too many mid-sized crossovers here on the top 25 is just because this segment is so competitive that they have to be aggressive with the prices on the secondhand market, if that makes sense. Okay. So the RAV4, the only mid-sized crossover on the top 25 list. The Kicks is compact or subcompact. Accent's another tiny car, kind of like the Rio. 4Runner on the list as well. Now we have a body on frame SUV. What other body on frame SUV has there been? This is it. I don't see any other body on frame SUV. We've had the trucks, and then you have the Wrangler, and you have the Tundra somewhere in here. But the 4Runner is a great way to invest your money in a product as well. Corvette, we've seen high performance cars like the 911 do well here. Nissan Kicks holding its value well, and Subaru Impreza, the sedan, holds its value well. So just looking at this, Toyotas, Subarus, and then coupes, if I'm looking at it just quick, hold their value really, really well. So if you're in the market to buy a car in late 2023 into 2024, this is a good place to start. All right, here in the vehicles you want to avoid like the plague. Buying this is essentially like buying fireworks. Probably not going to last very long. And since they don't, maybe the reliability is not that great, their value over time just plummets. So here are the vehicles that depreciate the most over 5 years. And I just did my first Maserati event. I drove the new Gran Turismo, drop dead sexy. It's super expensive. It's a Maserati, right? So Maserati is going to see its way on this list quite a bit. So the Quattroporte, 65% drop roughly over 5 years, and it drops $90,000 in value over 5 years. Yikes. So lease a Maserati, do not buy one. Same thing with and that goes, if you want one of these vehicles on the highest depreciation list, lease them. Do not buy them unless you just generate money like an oil well. Don't buy these vehicles with cash. All right. BMW 7 Series drops its value 62%, over $70,000 dropped. All right, another Maserati in the top 3. Not good for Maserati. The Ghibli, $58,000 drop in 5 years, 61% value drop. Another BMW sedan on the series, and this one specifically, the hybrid. Interesting. Most hybrids hold their value well, right? Outside of trucks, they're the best segment for holding their value, not for BMW. Drops 60% roughly, and $37,000 in value. All right, Cadillac Escalade ESV. Watch my review on the Escalade V. The supercharged V8 was just insane. But that thing drops like a rock in value, 58%. And that leads to about $64,000 drop in value. All right, another BMW on the list. I haven't driven any modern BMWs. I live too far away from the press fleet, apparently, for them to send them to me, which is unfortunate, but I've heard amazing things about the X5. But maybe lease the X5 because it does not hold its value for anything. Okay, $44,000 drop in value over 5 years, and that's 58% drop in its value. Infiniti QX80, here's the thing. I love the Infiniti QX80. Big V8, huge body on frame tank of a vehicle. The problem with the Infiniti QX80 is also there's the Nissan Armada. It's the exact same truck, except the exterior design. It really looks and feels and drives exactly the same. The technology in there is the same between those two trucks. And we might see the Armada on this list as well, which buying a used Armada might be a steal. But the thing is, I'd probably only buy one after they did the refresh, and most of them are made in Japan nowadays. So I would try to get a newer used one compared to an older used one. Anyways, Infiniti QX80 making its way on the list. We will get a redesign in the QX80 soon, probably by the end of next year. Okay, another Maserati, Levante, is on the list. This is their SUV crossover thing. I will be getting a Grecale on the channel soon. So stay tuned for that. I'll be getting it for a few days next month. I can't wait to drive it. It's going to be insane. That will have the twin turbo V6, I believe, detuned from the MC20. Jaguar makes a way on the list. Audi A7, Q7, Escalade, Volvo S90, Armada. So what I see here, real quick, snapshot, because I'm not going to go over all these. Don't buy luxury vehicles that are of these brands. Notice that there's no Lexus on this because Lexus holds their value really well for a luxury brand. I don't see any besides the QX80. I don't see Infiniti on this list. So maybe that's a brand you can buy and finance. I don't see Acura on this list at all. Model S from Tesla makes its way on this list. So these are the brands, these are the luxury brands that you would want to lease and not purchase. Simple as that. Okay, so let's get into the electric vehicle depreciation. What are the worst ones here? Well, Tesla Model 3. Doesn't surprise. So it depreciates about 43% over 5 years, which is better than the EV average of 49%. The Model 3 has done pretty well, but remember the industry average is 38%. So it depreciates faster than most other cars. Okay. All right. Model X, 50% depreciation. Leaf, 51%. Bolt EV, 51%. And Model S, 55%. Now, got to keep in mind the EV situation is a bit weird because you have tax credits. Tax credit essentially makes the vehicle cheaper to the consumer because you get that money back for your tax credits or baked into your lack of tax return, depending on how you look at it. So that really muddies the pricing game here. So here we go. Ranking of hybrids. This one's exciting to me. I really love hybrids. You guys know I have a Prius. And here's the thing. My Prius holds its value as well as the Prius Prime. They hold their value better than any other hybrid on the market. So we see a 28% roughly depreciation for the Prius and Prius Prime. Remember, top 25 ended at 27.8, about 28%. So essentially the Prius is in the top 25 as well. So let's go back to the hybrids here. Back to the hybrids. There we go. So Prius Prime right outside the top 25. RAV4 hybrids not far behind at 29%. Camry hybrid. So here's the thing. We know that the Camry hybrid has the same powertrain as the RAV4 hybrid and just a bigger motor and bigger electric motors, the same technologies we see in the Prius Prime. So what I'm seeing in here is that if we could find some of these on the used market, some of the Toyotas like the Avalon or the ES, which is like the same car, just the Lexus is a little bit nicer, these drop their value quite a bit. So the Avalon Hybrid might be a great second-hand buy. I passed one on the interstate yesterday, driving back from Thanksgiving in North Carolina. And I'm like, man, I really like the Avalon Hybrid. Of course, they discontinued it. I love the Avalon Hybrid. The front end is just hard for me to get over. But if you can snap up some good deals on the ES Hybrid and Avalon Hybrid, that might be a great way to go. Accord Hybrid as well up there, right behind the Camry Hybrid. Highlander Hybrid, Ioniq. So our first Hyundai product that is a hybrid on the list today holds its value at 37%. Not nearly as good as the Prius, which was the competitor to the Ioniq Hybrid before they killed it for the fully electric Ioniq lineup. So hybrids, 37% on average hold their value, or should I say drop in value over 5 years. Kia Niro, still around. It's Kia's competitor. It's a little bit bigger than the Prius, of course, much more functional, not nearly as powerful, much slower, but still very efficient. Avalon, I already talked about that. Sonata Hybrid, quite a ways behind its key competitors, the Accord and Camry. Pacifica Plug-in Hybrid. If you missed my review on it, check it out. I do not recommend it. It's a little rough. And I like the idea of a plug-in hybrid minivan. It's just not executed very well. There's too many things like the odd braking and the clunkiness of the powertrain. So I'll just be getting a V6 hybrid a V6 Pacifica, not the V6 hybrid, just the normal V6 if you're in the Pacifica market. All right. Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid, saw those few on the interstate as well, 46%. Porsche Panamera hybrid, not holding its value well, and then a bunch of BMWs, which do not hold their value well. All right, let's move on. Trucks. We know the Tacoma and Tundra, they're in the top 25. And then the Chevy Colorado is next, GMC Canyon, and then the Nissan Frontier. Okay, Nissan Frontier is my favorite midsize pickup truck. until we get a new Tacoma, and you have to wait for my impressions here in a few days at the time of this recording, so I can tell you if I like the new Tacoma better than the Frontier. All right, truck average, 35% drop in a value, which is a little bit better, right, compared to the hybrids average, which is 37%. But the hybrid average really gets drugged down by some of these models, right, like the BMWs and the Porsche that do not hold their value very well at all. Okay, Toyota, Honda hybrids hold their value really well. Hyundai hybrids hold their value pretty well. And I wouldn't buy a used hybrid outside of those, probably. Maybe Outlander plug-in hybrid. I'm sure that's pretty reliable. It's just pretty gutless. Trucks, that's what we're focusing on. Trucks, Tacoma, Tundra, we knew their top two. Colorado, GMC Canyon, and then Frontier rounding out the top five. Those are all better. They hold their value better than the rest of the industry average. Honda Ridgeline coming in 6th. Ford F-150 dropping its value 36%. And keep in mind, there are different trim levels, so certain trim levels are going to hold their value better. And in fact, the lowest trim levels are going to hold their value in theory the best, on average, I would say. All right, GMC Sierra 1500. So the rest of them are, Nissan's big trucks don't hold their value well, but their Frontier holds their value well. So that's not really a surprise as Nissan's killing off their Titan lineup. And they're just not very desirable compared to the big three. But yeah, the Tundra's up there for having the best depreciation rates compared to the other large pickup trucks. Top 5 small SUVs with lowest depreciation: CHR, Crosstrek, HRV. They call the RAV4 a small SUV. It's much bigger than the rest of these on the list. Let's see here. Top 5 small SUVs with highest depreciation. So these are ones you want to avoid with the plague or lease. Cadillac XT5, the Stelvio, the F-Pace, the Q5, and the SQ5. All right, midsize SUVs with lowest 5-year depreciation. Well, the Wrangler is just like its own thing, right? It's almost a forerunner too. They're almost their own category of vehicles with no competition. Highlander hybrid does really well with holding its value. The normal Highlander does as well, and the Lexus RX 350. The first Lexus crossover we've seen on this list today, holding its value fairly well for a midsize SUV. Midsize SUVs with the highest 5-year depreciation: BMW X5, the Levante from Maserati, Q7, X5 from BMW, and X5M. Yikes. So a lot of depreciation from BMW and Audi. Full-size SUVs with the lowest 5-year depreciation: the Sequoia. Well, that's the old Sequoia with the V8, right? Mercedes-Benz, the G-Wagon, though you got to drop 6 figures to get one of those. The Tahoe, the Yukon, and the Suburban are all the same vehicle. And also the Escalade is the same vehicle as well, but it's so much more expensive than these that its value just drops because these are the same truck you can get for a lot less money. Okay. Top 5 full-size SUVs with the highest 5-year depreciation. You have the Cadillac. Well, there you go. I just talked about the ESV. The Escalade drops its value like a brick. The QX80, the Armada, and the Lincoln Navigator. Okay, so man, getting a used Armada is going to be a pretty good deal. Like I said, buy a newer one. But I like the Armada personally better than the Sequoia. And I would buy an Armada over a Sequoia, even though its value drops. So there's a lot of personal preference in here. And, buying cars is an emotional decision. If people just bought cars for residual value and depreciation, then BMWs wouldn't sell, Mercedes wouldn't sell, Maseratis wouldn't sell at all, right? So that's going to conclude our video today. What are you most surprised about? If we just look at the notable segments here, are you surprised that trucks hold their value the best? No surprise there. Are you surprised that the Tacoma and the Tundra hold their value better than any other pickup truck? No surprise there. Are you surprised that hybrids are the best at keeping their value outside of pickup trucks? They're almost as good as pickup trucks at this point of holding their value. What do you think about that? That's good news to me, because actually my Prius, when I bought it in 2020, has gone up in value quite a bit. My 2012 Prius has gone up in value. It's worth, $5,000 more than what I paid for it. So it's gone up like 60, 70% in its value. It's just ridiculous. All right. And then, yeah, EVs, no surprise here. This is going to continue to drop, I think, the depreciation of EVs, because better ones will keep coming out and prices on EVs will keep getting lower in order for more people to adopt them. It's just that they've kind of hit a brick wall with the adoption in North America. SUVs doing well as well, right behind hybrids. But if you get an SUV hybrid, you're probably going to be doing fairly well with residual value being retained with those. But I got to shut it down there, guys. I've been wanting to make this video for a while. An article has been out since November 6th. Just been busy. You guys know all my videos from Japan, all my videos from the LA Auto Show. I have all the videos for the Tacoma. I have multiple videos on the new Tacoma, my impressions, and we'll have pricing on that in just a couple days. But thank you guys for watching. You made it a long ways in this video. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. Smash the like button, subscribe for more industry auto news. Catch you guys in the next video. Have a great holiday season. And if you're watching this into 2024, hope you're having a great year. Take care.